Typically in RPGs, you start out as a relatively weak protagonist who has to go into a sewer or your neighbor's basement and kill rats. Well, that's not the case with The Longest 5 Minutes, the latest RPG from Nipponichi and syupro-dx and published by NIS America. Full disclosure, NIS America provided me with an early access code, but the opinions shown in this video are my own. But yeah, as I was saying, most of the time RPGs start out fairly uniform. There might be a cataclysmic event or something that propels the protagonist to set off on his adventure. Well, The Longest 5 Minutes starts at the end of the adventure, that is. The hero, Flash, has legitimately the worst luck because he comes down with amnesia right when he's about to fight the Demon King, the so-called final boss. And this is just about as absurd as it sounds. Your party members are like, dude, Flash, what gives, man? What's wrong? And Flash is just like, who are you again? Where am I? It's such an outlandish concept. It's funny due to the relatable party members, and it's intriguing enough to really get you hooked from the very beginning. I mean, like, I had so many questions when I started this, like, why did the hero lose his memory? How did he get here? What did the Demon King do to this poor guy? Well, you learn all of that in every chapter. This is a fairly linear RPG. Flash slowly recovers his memories bit by bit, as Flash and the rest of the party try to stall the Demon King from just killing them outright. Every memory gives a little bit more context to the story. It introduces characters, where they're from, the places they visited together and by themselves, moments they've shared, both frightening and friendly, and how this group became really close friends. Some of my favorite moments actually cover some deeper, not so silly themes like friendship, romance, death, honor, etc. The ending really dives into this, and yes, there are multiple endings, and of course, I'm pretty sure I got the worst one. In between your moments with the Demon King, you are tossed into random moments of Flash's adventure that you just so happen to miss, with a short goal in mind. Usually it's something like get to the top of this building, or make your way across the sea, or find a place to stay the night. But they are usually pretty short. I guess I'd describe them as bite-sized quests and objectives. As you complete these levels, you get experience as you would in any RPG and you level up. And by leveling up, you increase your re-experience, which is basically bonus stats to add on to your base level that's determined by the specific memory. By completing specific optional tasks in each chapter, you get extra experience at the end. I guess you could call these sort of like side quests, but they're more like, can I figure out who to talk to in order to get this box checked? Some of them are cute, but really the main incentive for me was to get the extra experience. And some of them are hard as hell, like this minigame where you have to score 20,000 points. Spent a good 30 minutes in this and I could not crack that high score. There's another minigame that's like an endless runner, but I'm bad at those two, so I didn't make it very far. Now I'd like to talk about the combat for a bit. It really is a throwback to the NES and the SNES turn-based RPGs. They're all random encounters, but before I really get into the issues I have with this, I just want to say that I love the enemy designs. At one point I was in a winery fighting barrels of wine, and there's like funny looking raccoons, evil stumps, yetis, you name it, and it's probably in this game. The enemy designs are creative and really fun to look at, even if they seem kind of random for a fantasy RPG. The other visuals are very simple. I mean, look at it, it looks like an 8-bit game, to say the least. The spells in combat really remind me of like RPG Maker spell effects. Like if you cast a spell, something like Earthquake, for example, it looks like what you would see in an RPG Maker game. Like some static or slightly animated spikes might pop out of the ground, the screen will shake, something real simple like that. But see, there's a bigger issue here. It's one of two problems that I have with this game, and they're kind of important. So the dungeons and the difficulty. I'll start with the difficulty, and this game is absurdly easy. I didn't run into any trouble throughout the entire game, except for one fight near the end, and it was kind of like a cinematic fight, so I think I just wasn't doing it properly. But, you know, I didn't run into any trouble throughout the entire game, and I missed a lot of the objectives. In fact, I rarely even used any spells simply because it was faster to go through and hit this auto battle button. And then when you click auto, your teammates will either attack physically or use a spell, and usually the spell that they use is weak and doesn't do any damage, but it doesn't matter because the enemies in this game they weren't worth my time. They would just die anyway. Some of the later bosses provide a little bit more challenge where you want to keep your heals up and repeat your strongest attack, but it's really a case of attack, heal, repeat. When you combine the tedious combat with certain dungeons that just drag on and on and on and on, it gets so old so fast. At one point in the game, you're in a prison building and you have to escape. It's legitimately a maze of stairways and doors. By the time I got to the end, I was so relieved that I deliberately just missed some of the treasure in there. I may have been really unlucky with the random battles, but I felt like there were just so many in this dungeon, and all of them basically last under 10 seconds. It just feels like a nuisance every time one pops up. It's like I'm in a land purely inhabited by Zubats. And since it's the same battle music throughout the entire game, it was really starting to get under my skin. There are more dungeons like this, some of them on the longer side of things, some of them on the shorter side, and some are more complicated and some are fairly simple. But this prison is just a great example of one that really overstays its welcome. So I suppose there may be another problem with this game, and that's the fact that it's just not very long. Now there is replayability since there are goals in every chapter, multiple endings, and some decisions that affect the outcome of events, but I'm usually not one to go back through these single-player RPGs. There is a lot of text to go through after all. According to my Switch, I played it for about 5 hours, and I've gotten to the credits. I don't think it should take that much longer to get everything. So it's definitely on the short side of things, considering that this game retails for $40 US. Overall, the longest 5 minutes is interesting. That's about as good as I could put it. I really love the story and the concept. It's intriguing. It really kept my interest at times because the relationships between the characters, and I just wanted to see what would happen to them. But as I played more and more of it, the gameplay just became so much of a slog with all the repetitive dungeons and, frequent random battles that are just far too easy. It's probably better played in short bursts, so my 2+ hour gaming sessions may not have given it justice. But of course, as with any game, your mileage may vary. If you're interested in checking it out, the longest 5 minutes is available on Switch, Vita, and Steam for $39.99 US. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below and leave a like if you enjoyed it. And please consider subscribing to support the channel. Peace.